Stay tuned to PBS 39 as we focus on the arts and share the work of a Lehigh Valley-based mosaic maker. See how broken becomes beautiful in the hands of Kim Hogan. Then we introduce you to a different type of glass artist, a painter and gallery owner who uses a crystal clear canvas to create a whole new view from these discarded windows. These stories and more coming up right now on Focus. Focus is for our community.
Focus showcases the people,
The places, and the issues that matter to you.
Focus on what matters.
You never know what you're going to see when you tune into Focus.
Support for Focus is provided by Univest, banking, insurance, investments, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us as we focus on the arts. I'm Laura McHugh, and we're broadcasting from the PPL Public Media Center at PBS 39 in Bethlehem. Several of the artists featured in this episode use glass, both as a muse and as a medium. Here's Focus reporter Brittany Garzillo with our first artist.
Thank you, Laura. Once you see the work of local artist Kim Hogan, you may never look at glass the same way again. Kim uses a variety of colors to make each one of her masterfully crafted mosaics. For her, each piece is a labor of love.
Through a looking glass, Kim Hogan appears to assemble a puzzle. One made of glistening glass.
It's kind of like doing a jigsaw puzzle, only I get to decide where the pieces fit.
In her studio at the Banana Factory Arts Center in South Bethlehem, Kim works on a canvas made of plywood.
I do the original drawing on the plywood first, and then I cut the pieces of glass and then glue them in place to create the image.
Guided by a series of photos, she uses a sharp eye and shards of glass to create her next mosaic masterpiece.
Sometimes I have a clear vision of what it's going to look like in the end, and sometimes it's a journey.
Quite like her journey as an artist, a passion she discovered at 10 years old.
I think maybe my art teacher had something to do with it, really acknowledged that I had something special.
An award-winning artist, Kim eventually found her muse.
I was doing a lot of murals and watercolor portraits, and I started to do mosaics. I was going through a really devastating divorce, and that's when things started to change. For one thing, it felt really good to smash things. It was very cathartic, and it also represented taking something that was broken and restructuring it into something beautiful.
Her works range from 2 to 3 dimensions and depict everything from flowers and butterflies to animals and an angel. No two capture the light quite the same.
The ideas come from everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look, there's ideas, so you just have to make them happen.
The process doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, it's a labor of love. The plus side for me is it's very meditative.
A piece can take days or months to create.
I just love coming back and visiting this piece. It's one of my favorites. I think it might be my masterpiece.
One of Kim's largest pieces decorates a wall inside Warner Art Glass Center in Whitehall, a 4-foot-high and 7-foot-wide mosaic titled Cherry Blossoms.
It has a meaning of hope, serenity. It's a peaceful looking piece to me. But there's also a lot of magic happening.
Magic produced by intricate pieces of mirrors, tiles, and plates.
The more you look, the more you see.
I've always been impressed. We have probably 5 or 6 pieces that she's made here. All the way down to a piece that looks like it's made out of fingernail clippings, just about. The pieces are so small.
Some of Kim's mosaics portray circus scenes, pieces she hopes to use as illustrations in her own children's book someday.
Somebody told me once that it's never too soon to live your dreams, and I think I've waited too long. So.
But when it comes to her work, a montage of broken made beautiful. Kim hopes others feel that it's never too late to stop and stare.
I hope that people are able to look at my art for a while, just really let it soak in, and find the complexities and simplicities and find beauty in the piece of work. That would be my greatest wish.
For Focus, I'm Brittany Garzillo, reporting.
Thank you, Brittany. In our next story, we meet a different type of glass artist. In warm weather, you'll find Ward Van Hout driving through Bucks County, scouring the roadside for his next canvas. Or you can visit him on Main Street in Bethlehem, where we met Ward in 2014 as he just opened a unique art gallery. In his Bethlehem studio, Ward Van Hout sets down his brush and takes a moment to assess his latest painting.
Right now, I can see that the lips need some work.
So he flips the painting around and gets to work.
I'm working not only in mirror image, but in reverse order.
Ward works on a surface both fragile and unforgiving,
If you make a mistake, there's no going back.
a canvas made of clear glass.
You're looking at the unpainted surface, and the paint is applied to the other side.
This difficult yet unique technique turns painting into a puzzle,
The whole process is reversed. The details are put on before the background.
making each painting look as if it's lit from within.
I love the nature of the glass. I love the luminosity. There's no other support medium combination, I believe, that has that same sort of luminous effect when it's finished.
A painting often takes 4 to 6 months to complete,
Because each layer needs to dry.
and when they're done, Ward displays and sells his finished works and hundreds of others at Bethlehem House Contemporary Art Gallery.
Currently, we have 8 artists and 2 furniture makers. We have 6 painters and 2 sculptors, all of whom are local.
Located on Main Street in Bethlehem, Ward opened the gallery in July and designed it not as a white-walled, stark space, but to look as if it's actually someone's home.
It really allows the viewer to not only look at the space and the art in a different way, it gives them ideas in which that they can incorporate these things within their own home.
Visitors walk through wooden double doors into a lobby with vaulted ceilings and an enormous archway.
It is quite impressive. Every single person that has come in here, they typically use the word wow.
The lobby leads to an open concept living area, separated for now by a large rectangular sculpture suspended from the ceiling as a room divider. 4 additional rooms house a bedroom, dining room, den, and music room. Throughout the space, each piece is individually lit with theatrical lighting.
This is still the first exhibit that we have. Every 3 months, the entire space will change. So the art will change, the furniture and the rooms will change as well.
What won't change, at least anytime soon, the commitment to local artists.
It's a community that is full of great art, great artists, a great art scene that's supported by all of the cities. Bethlehem, Allentown, and Easton all put a great deal of attention into their art community.
Even Ward's own artwork comes from his environment. He salvages the windows, often right from the side of the road. And though Ward usually leaves the frames as he finds them, the view through the glass never looks the same again. The artists in our next story don't just work with glass, they craft it by hand. For more, let's head back to Brittany.
Thanks, Laura. From vases to bowls, these artists handcraft molten glass into one-of-a-kind works of art right before your eyes. The artists you're about to meet make glass blowing look easy, but as I quickly learned, it's both difficult and rewarding.
Talent, teamwork, 2,000-degree heat. The glass-blowing artists at the Banana Factory in South Bethlehem turn up the heat on traditional art as they mold molten glass into masterpieces.
To me, it's an art that's almost like a sport. So the molten glass is actually located inside the crucible.
Artist and glass studio manager Dennis Gardner retrieves what he calls a gather of glass from the 2100-degree furnace and quickly cools down the metal rod before shaping his next piece. Dennis says glass blowing requires both artistic ability and an ounce of athleticism.
But not only is it hot and physically demanding, it's a lot of time on your feet all day, a lot of movement, moving around, so it's kind of like you're active, you're exercising the whole time.
John Choi, artist and creative director of the glass studio, uses tools to effortlessly etch each detail, a skill he's perfected for the past 20 years.
You and the fire and your skill and natural ability and your glass knowledge from your teachers, that's all you have.
Together, both John and Dennis have handcrafted thousands of pieces, from functional bowls and flower sculptures to a 40-foot tall glass sculpture located in Arts Quest.
Transforming molten liquid into a tangible object, to me that's really powerful and very exciting.
According to John and Dennis, the art of glass blowing dates back more than 2,000 years. John demonstrates how glass blowing got its name as he blows into the hollow rod, creating a bubble in the glass. With every turn, the bubble grows bigger and bigger and bigger.
Practice getting the glass out, shaping or blowing or certain tooling. We practice those little steps for years. And believe it or not, some of those moves might take you a lifetime.
Both Dennis and John share their expertise with other aspiring artists in classes offered through the Banana Factory. Some students continue with glass as studio volunteers.
The glass is your teacher, so you need to watch how it's moving in order to take the next step and make what you want to.
Everybody does the same thing differently, so it's up to you to find your way. So that's the beauty of it, because there's no right and there's no wrong. It's what you want to make of it.
According to Arts Quest, the glass studio opened in 2006 and is the only hot glass studio in the Lehigh Valley.
The learning curve is rather steep. And when you see somebody who's blowing glass and they know what they're doing, it looks very easy. So many students come in and they see you make something and they're like, oh, that looks pretty easy, I think I can try it. And just pulling the glass out of the furnace is challenging if you've never done it before.
Up for the challenge, I accepted John's offer to try it myself.
Want to do a pumpkin?
And here's one of my favorite tools. We call this the bonker stick.
The bonker stick?
Yep, so you're gonna grab that. Excellent. Now in just 1 second, I want you to tap this part of the stick away from us, okay? Doesn't need to be a home run. You just need a base hit right here, okay? And make sure you hit it away from us, okay? Go for it. Perfect, very nice.
And one of the things about glass blowing is you want to make something that's nice in a team of people. It's very challenging to do by yourself.
And now we're going to put this stem right on top here. Just make sure it contacts all around the piece. And now this glass is nice and hot and molten. So this glass is about 2,000 degrees that we're making the stem out of, and your pumpkin is still very hot, still probably 1,000 degrees, but it's stable. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around our wooden jig here, and then we're going to put it on your pumpkin.
If the glass were to stay out and cool in the air, it would crack and break. That's why once a piece is completed, it's put in a annealing oven.
A few days later, my glass pumpkin is ready for display.
You can learn from me, but you're not going to blow glass exactly like I do. So you really have to develop your own relationship with the glass, and I think that's a really unique thing with the material.
It's like so much fun. It's like figuring out the puzzle that's been around 2,000 years, and that really excites me.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out.
Woo!
Both Dennis and John agree that glass blowing can ignite the artist in all of us. For Focus, I'm Brittany Garzillo reporting.
Thank you, Brittany. We continue our focus on arts and history in our next story as we join a photographer and videographer on the former campus of Bethlehem Steel in South Bethlehem. Focus reporter Grover Silcox joins us now to share his story. Grover?
Thanks, Laura.
Bruce Ward wants people to know what it felt like to work at Bethlehem Steel. The former steelworker turned documentarian now shares his and other steelworkers' experiences in video and photographs. He works from a studio at the Banana Factory Arts Center, only a block from the former plant. Here he follows his passion for telling the story of the steel to all of us who wonder what it must have been like to work there. Bruce Ward once scaled these 20-story blast furnaces as a rigger for Bethlehem Steel. Now he aims his camera at them to capture the memories they elicit and the legacy they represent.
People come to me and say, "Can you give us a tour? Can you tell us about it?"
Bruce tells the story of the steel in 3 videos, which include A View from Inside, The Steel Way of Life, and the 28-inch mill.
In about 1981 or 82, I started carrying a pocket Instamatic camera because I knew nobody would believe me if I told them where I was and what I did. We were inside of a blast furnace. We were in the guts of the basic oxygen furnaces. We were at ingot mold. We were fixing the things that poured the hot metal into the molds.
In A View from Inside, Bruce laced interviews with retired steelworkers with archival film clips and his own photos shot before the plant closed in 1997.
Every time you turned around, there was a whistle blowing or a siren going off, and that meant get out of the way.
I think the images of red hot steel are the ones that impress me the most, because when you realize that that red hot steel is 10 or 15 feet away, and if you were not protected, your skin would be blistering, literally.
Bruce took a video and media arts major at Northampton Community College in 1995, and then began using his skills to document life at Bethlehem Steel.
I've always been interested in photography. It started as a way to capture where I was and what I did, but soon it became kind of a family album because I always got pictures of the people I was with, and I found that that was what probably kept me at the steel.
Working in collaboration with the Steelworkers Archives, Historic Bethlehem, and Allentown-based photographer Edward Leskin, Bruce produced The Steel Way of Life in 2013. The documentary features retired steelworkers sharing their personal stories about life at the steel.
You had honor in being a steelworker. That was an honor title.
Everybody in my family worked at the steel, going all the way back to my great-grandfather.
Because it was the lifeblood of this town. It built this town.
You spent a lot of time with these people, and very often you spent more time with them than you did with your own family.
Every day it was something different. Every day you come to work, you got this bus outside and take you to a job where you're going to go.
They all were the people that had what it took to get the place going and to keep it going.
Richie Check describes how he and his whole family worked at the steel in Bruce's video.
We had our picture taken in the blast furnace area with 9 brothers working for Bethlehem Steel all at one time.
In addition to appearing in Bruce's production, Richie has appeared in numerous broadcasts about Bethlehem Steel, including documentaries by PBS 39.
You can't believe it, that there's no smoke coming out, or no burning bleeder where the gas was being burned and going up in the atmosphere.
Indeed, Richie Check is the face of Bethlehem Steel. He is a hero.
Bruce also produced a video of the 28-inch mill, a play about the steel written by retired steelworker Robert Franz and performed by Franz's son, Stan.
It's like the 28th, say, on a Monday day turn in January. It's just sitting there. Ice forming on the rolls from the leaks in the cooling hoses. Steam seeping out of the engine.
Stan produced the play as a one-man show, and I did a video rendition of that.
This is Wayne. You got a young one coming down the roller line. Engineer, did you hear that? You got a short coming in the upper. Slow it down a bit.
It is a great tribute to the guys that work the 28-inch mill.
From his studio at the Banana Factory in South Bethlehem, Bruce is now working on another documentary about steelmaking.
That is starring Richie Check, of course, who else? And he tells the story of not only the Bethlehem Steel and his family, but he tells how we as a people began producing iron and then steel, and how it was made here in Bethlehem.
Over the years, Bruce has honed and expanded his skills as a photographer and recently displayed some of his work at an exhibit of Banana Factory studio artists.
I'm quite proud that I'm still involved with photography and that I have a space here at the Banana Factory where I can show my images.
Where he can explore his creativity and pursue his passion for sharing a life forged in steel. For Focus, I'm Grover Silcox reporting.
Thank you, Grover. Our final story features another resident artist at the Banana Factory Art Center in South Bethlehem. Artist Kevin Hoff creates artwork that's truly one of a kind. He crafts each piece of jewelry by hand. Brittany takes us to his studio. Brittany?
Thank you, Laura. In a consumer culture that thrives on mass production, one local artist creates wearable art. I got the chance to see how one piece of jewelry is made.
Inside the jewelry studio at the Banana Factory in South Bethlehem, resident artist Kevin Hoff hones his craft.
I'm going to start out with a piece of material that was recycled.
A sculptor and goldsmith for more than 40 years, Hoff uses a hammer to hand forge his next piece of jewelry.
Now I've put a texture on this entire piece.
Within 30 minutes, he'll turn this piece of sterling silver into a one-of-a-kind ring, handcrafted from start to finish.
People call themselves jewelry makers and they're just buying findings and putting them together. But I make everything totally hand fabricated.
Step by step, Hoff demonstrates the process. He torches the metal to about 1,000 degrees, saws, manipulates, and solders until the hand-wrought ring takes shape.
Metal is my muse. That's what really gets me going. I love working in metal and building jewelry. That's really, again, my passion.
He uses hand tools to make the ring round.
I like to do one more thing. It's actually something called a coin edge, and I'm going to put what I like to see really having that hand-wrought look.
To achieve this look, Hoff hammers a texture all the way around the edge of the ring.
I like to use the least amount of materials that I can and build something, have a design that's, again, very minimalistic. So less is more.
Hoff's interest in metal began at a young age.
I got that metal bug when I was about 13, maybe a little younger than that.
He studied graphic design at Kutztown University and today shares a Banana Factory studio with his wife Valerie, a mixed media artist. Inside, he showcases a few of his precious metal pieces.
The studio is really my gallery for showing my pieces of work.
Over the years, Hoff's made hundreds of pieces like bracelets, rings, and earrings. Many are made with found, recycled, and even unexpected materials.
So this is a piece that I designed. Started out with an early 1800s baby grand piano that I was fortunate enough to receive the ebony and the ivory from, and a lot of the other wood. I save all of my metal, so any metal that's left over goes into scrap, and then I'll melt that down, pour that into ingots, and then I have a rolling mill. I'll roll the metal out, and so now I can use the metal again.
A full-time orthodontic dental technician, Hoff spends most days working with metal, whether it's stainless steel or in silver or gold.
Orthodontics, dental technology, is very similar to jewelry making. They both kind of coincide because you're working with metals, you're working with your hands. It's another craft.
While Hoff primarily makes jewelry out of his home studio, he passes along these traditional goldsmithing techniques in classes offered through the Banana Factory.
What primarily keeps me going 40 years later is teaching. And a lot of the handmade arts that are out there, they're dying. They're going to the wayside because everything's mass-produced.
Though Hoff's polished and produced dozens of these sterling silver bands over the years, engraved with what he calls his maker's mark, no two are crafted quite the same. For Focus, I'm Brittany Garzillo reporting.
Thank you, Brittany, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, remember to focus on what matters. This program is recorded at the PPL Public Media Center at PBS 39 in Bethlehem.